Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Nikki and I like to crochet stuff. In this video, I am so excited to be giving you a recap of the best market I have ever done. But before we get started, if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. Also subscribe if you want to see more crochet content from me. It really helps me out so much. Okay, let's get started. So I was super excited for this event. Ever since I started doing craft shows earlier this spring, this is the event that everybody had been talking about. The craft show has been going on for like 24 years. It's super well established, and it was at a high school that was like less than 20 minutes from my house, so that was really nice. It's supposed to be pretty difficult to get into the show too, so I'm not really sure like how I got so lucky to get in. Maybe it's because I applied like right when they started accepting applications, but either way, I had some pretty high expectations for this show, and I thought that like if any show was gonna go well for me, it was gonna be this one. The craft fair took place on November 2nd and it went from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I had an 8 by 10 foot booth. It cost $125 to reserve it. I took 135 items with me, and that was $1,464 in inventory. So for where my spot was located, I was again really lucky with this because first of all, I got a corner spot, which I did not have to pay for. They don't even have like a spot to pay for a corner spot on the application. I never pay for that anyways. And second, I was also sitting right in front of the main gym where all of the shoppers were like heading towards. Like, here's the door to the gym. My spot was number 24 right here on the corner. So pretty much everyone that came to the show that day, they had to pass by my table twice. They passed by to go into the gym, and then they passed by to go out of the gym. And that was really good for situations where people would see something and like it, but they weren't quite sure if they wanted to buy it yet. So they would go into the big gym, come back out, go past my table, and a lot of people ended up coming back and buying something on the second time that they visited. Another thing I got lucky with is that my husband, he did a little recon. He went around and looked at the other tables, and he said that my table was the only one that had like exclusively amigurumi. The other tables that had crochet stuff, they only had like small sections of crochet, and then they were selling other stuff, or they were selling, you know, wearable items like hats and gloves. So being the only table with the kind of stuff that I had obviously made a huge difference. And then one more thing I wanted to mention is at this show, I had put up little signs, kind of like instructive signs, to let the shoppers know where they could interact with different plushies. For the mushy pops, I had a little sign that says you can pull the top on it. And for the froggy in a basket, I had a little sign that said he comes out. And I will definitely be doing that from now on because number one, it prevents me from having to say over and over all day, like, you can pull the top on that. And number two, it gets shoppers interacting with some items that have like hidden features. And a lot of the times they think it's so cool that they just buy it right then and there. This show ended up being like the perfect storm that I was not prepared for. I thought I had plenty of stuff. Like, it was enough stuff for my past 6 shows. Obviously, I was making more stuff in between each show, but it was more than enough at each of those shows. And boy, was I wrong. Here's what we're looking like, guys. I have like nothing left. Oh God, I'm like freaking out here a little bit. Okay, I had to consolidate. This is all that I've got left. I can't believe this. So yeah, I ended up selling out of most of my stuff by noon. The first thing to fully go was the leggy froggies. I made 18 sales in my first hour. We were at like $350 in revenue by that point, so I had made back my booth fee like 3 times by 10 a.m. From 10 to 11, I made 22 sales. And then from 11 to 12, I made 22 more sales. From 12 to 1, I made 13 sales. And after that, it was looking extremely empty. Like, there was nothing left. So I ended up consolidating down to just one table. And then after that, for the rest of the day, I didn't really sell a whole lot more, which makes sense because I didn't really have anything. From 1 to 2, I only made 4 sales. And then from 2 to 3, I finished out with another 8 sales. That was a total of 87 sales throughout the day, and the majority of them were within the first 3 hours. Alright guys, this is all that I have left right here. This is out of all of my inventory, this is everything. My husband was like, imagine if you had double the stuff. Yeah, I wish I had double the stuff. Like, I'm gonna be preparing all year for next year's show just to make sure that I have enough stuff to get me throughout the entire day. Let's get into the details of what exactly sold. And this is probably gonna take a minute in no particular order. I've finally sold my purple dolphin. I have had this thing for months and months. It was finally adopted for $25. Another thing I've had for so long is my Dino Buddy. I sold him for $40. I sold all 5 candy corns for $4 each. All 3 of my dragons for $28 each. They sold 1 of my big cats for $22. This is my cat pattern, but I made it with Sweet Snuggles Lite, so it was a lot bigger. And then again, that same pattern, I sold 2 of those at $16 each. Speaking of my patterns, I also sold 2 of my cows with a bell. I sold 2 of them for $22 each. I sold my large loaf cat. I only had 1 of those and he was $20. I had 1 chubby dino left. He sold for $18. My fuzzy duck sold for $18. I made him out of Premier Yarn's little bunny. I had 3 dogs. I sold 3 dogs, and then somebody came to my table and they were like, "You sold the black dog. We wanted the black dog." So they ordered one, and I'm gonna be giving it to them at the next show that I go to. So I ended up selling 4 dogs total for $16 each. I had like a bigger sea turtle that I made that was bigger than like these guys up here. And I had him for $15 and he sold. I sold 1 bee for $10. I finally sold my ostrich, but listen, the person definitely thought this was a turkey. This ostrich, like probably 7 out of 10 people that pick this thing up think that it's a turkey, not an ostrich. And that's totally fair. The colors on it seem very like Thanksgiving. So what I ended up doing was putting it with all of my Thanksgiving stuff, and people thought it was a turkey. If you ever need to rebrand an item because people think that it's something else, then go ahead and do it. The axolotls, of course, those completely sold out. I sold 6 out of 6 of those. I really wish that I had more, but I didn't have enough time to make any more. And the axolotls were $15 each. My sea turtles, I only had 2 of those left. Both of those sold for $12 each. I finally sold my pancake gray. He's gotten a lot of attention, but no buyers, and he was $12. And then along with him, I had 2 other manta rays left, and both of those sold for $10 each. I had 2 geese left, and those both sold for $12 each. All 4 out of the 4 like bigger octos that I brought with me, those all sold for $10 each. All 3 of the mallards and both of the eagles that I brought, they all sold for $10 each. My chickens, I had 5 chickens at $10 each. That's kind of a little bit low. I just like were not getting any attention until I dropped the price to $10, and then like everybody wanted to buy them. Anyways, I ended up selling all 5 of those for $10 each. My loaf cats, I had brought 8 loaf cats with me and they all sold in like the first hour, but I did bring yarn with me to make more cats, and so I was making them as quickly as I could. I ended up making 3 throughout the day, and I put them out and every single one of them sold. So that was 11 loaf cats at $15 each. I sold 2 mushy boys for $10 each. All 4 of my pumpkins went for $10 each. Also, all 3 of my pumpkin pies for $10 each. My leggy froggies, I made a ton of them. I made like 11 of them because I only had 1 left. And I'm so happy that I did because like I said, those were the first things that sold out. I sold all of them. I had 12 of them and I sold them at $8 each. Also the mushy pops, I made like as many as I could before the show. I had 13 of them and I sold 12 of them for $7 each. I sold all 4 of my chicken nuggets for $5 each. Froggy in a basket, one of my absolute favorite ones that I've ever made. The sign that I mentioned earlier, it definitely worked. Everybody saw the sign that said he can come out, and so they were coming and picking him up. They sold so fast. I had 2 of them. I sold both of them probably within the first like hour or 2, and they sold for $12 each. I had a Santa hat that I made. I made it like last Christmas, and I sold that for just $5. Keychains. I sold out of all of my keychains. I had one like little leggy froggy keychain. I sold that for $5. All of the keychains were $5 because I had had them for so long and nobody was touching them. They weren't even looking at them or acknowledging them. So I was like, fine, $5. Also, 2 mini Octo keychains, 8 bee keychains, and 4 mini whale keychains, all at $5 each. And then the last thing I was going to mention is I had a clearance section. Everything in it was $4. These are things that like were just not selling. They seem to be like colors that people don't really like, and I only had like 7 items I think in there. So out of those clearance items, I sold 2 out of 2 of the mini Octos for $4. I had 1 mini whale left who was gray and he sold. I had 5 gummy bears. The purple one sold, and I think one of the coral ones sold, but the other 3 did not sell. And that was all of the clearance stuff. All right, I'm literally sweating right now, but we got through that in one piece. So if you were counting along with me, that was 122 items out of the 135 items that I brought with me, plus the 1 custom dog order that I got. So that was a total of 123 items sold. Like, you guys, I am just so happy with that. It's so much better than what I could have expected. I almost wish that every show could go like that, but I just don't have that much inventory and I'm physically unable to make that much stuff. I was freaking out a little bit in those clips earlier because I had a show the following weekend, which is this weekend that I'm filming this video, but we got a massive snowstorm. We got like 2 feet of snow, and so they rescheduled the event till next weekend, and I have 1 more week to get ready for the show, so wish me luck because I'm definitely gonna need it. The best sellers. Can I say that everything was a best seller? But for real, even though so many things sold out, there's still a few things that I want to like give a special shout out to. First of all, loaf cats. Loaf cats, loaf cats, loaf cats. If you're gonna have anything at your table, have loaf cats. And then also bring some yarn to make more loaf cats while you're watching your other loaf cats sell out. Leggy froggies, mushy pops, chickens, those all were like pretty popular, sold out really quickly. My dogs, I would say that my dogs were a bestseller. I sold all 3 of them and somebody ordered another one. So I would say that was a bestseller. And don't forget, I have a free tutorial on my channel for those dogs if you want to make any for yourself. Let's see, 3 dragons at $28 each. I would say that's a pretty good seller. My froggy in the basket. I love that thing. It's just my favorite. I have to give it a shout out every time because people just love that thing. And the last thing I'm gonna call out is the keychains. People loved the keychains at this show. I heard multiple people saying, oh my gosh, keychain! And they didn't even see what was on the keychain yet. They just liked the idea of a keychain. So I think it's a good idea to have a bunch of keychains at your table. Also, by the way, I will have a Google Doc down in the description that has a link to all of the patterns that I mentioned. And a lot of them are free patterns too that I found on Instagram. Now, I did have 3 out of my 4 bees left. I just like do not have very good luck with these bees. There was one show that they sold really well, but at that show, I had dropped them down to $5. So I don't know if it was the price point or the day, but I'm not going to be making any more bees anytime soon. Also, the green and coral colored gummy bears. Those have been sitting with me for a really long time. They were in the clearance section today. Still like no buyers, so I will not be making any more green or coral colored gummy bears, but people do seem to kind of like the pink, blue, and purple ones. So now for how much money I made. My overall revenue was $1,315. Yes, that is amazing. I am just so happy and so grateful for that as well. Like I said earlier, the booth fee was $125. My square fees were $23.55. State taxes were $53, and that left me with $1,113.40. 45 cents. By far my best show ever. If you watched my last market results video, I had mentioned in that one that I was not keeping track of the materials and the time that it took to make these things. But I also mentioned that I have been keeping track of these things recently. So now that I'm like completely wiped out, moving forward, I should know in the future like how much of that would go to material costs as well. All right, that is it. That's everything that sold, and that's how my best market ever went. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, but I do not think this is going to be typical, unfortunately. I mean, like I said, I knew that this show would be good. I just didn't know it would be that good, but I'm so happy with how it went, and I'm also freaking out a little bit inside just because I need to make a bunch more stuff for my next show. Anyways, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every single one of you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!